What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our Big Ten football channel. Our 2019 college football schedule previews continue with Nebraska. You can see their schedule on your screen. Obviously not a great year in Scott Frost's first season. They went 4-8, had a really slow start to the season, but finished pretty strong. And looking ahead to 2019, I think this team has a chance to make a huge jump. Adrian Martinez back at quarterback. He broke all kinds of records as a freshman. I expect this offense to be one of the top offenses, not only in the Big Ten, but in the country in Scott Frost's second season. So, yeah, I'm expecting them to score a lot of points. Problem might be the defense. I don't know if they're going to have a championship caliber defense. They weren't great last year. They are losing some players from last season. So, that's going to be the difference, I think, in whether or not Nebraska can maybe get to a Big Ten championship. If the defense can step up, again, I think the offense they'll pull their weight. They'll score points. And if they can get both coming together, then yeah, maybe Nebraska can win that Big Ten West. You look at the schedule, they open up with South Alabama. Then it's a road game against Colorado, Northern Illinois, on the road at Illinois, Ohio State, Northwestern, at Minnesota, Indiana at Purdue, Wisconsin at Maryland, and Iowa. So the schedule is not horrible. When you look at who they play out of the East, yes, they play Ohio State, they play Maryland, and they play Indiana. So they avoid Penn State, they avoid Michigan, and they avoid Michigan State. Three of the top four teams, I think, out of the East. So a very favorable conference schedule. They also get Ohio State at home, and that's a game where I think people are already circling that game. That's the game Ohio State might lose this year. So if Nebraska wins that game, and you look at the rest of these games, which are probably winnable. Wisconsin is at home. They could make a serious run in 2019. And I think you saw the opposite of this last year. They had a really difficult schedule last season. This year it turns around and it's much more favorable. In the non-conference, you got South Alabama, Colorado, and Northern Illinois. So not a whole lot of challenges in those games. And yes, Nebraska, with this schedule and with what they have on offense, could definitely have a shot to win that Big Ten West. We'll see how it plays out. So you look through the schedule and you look for the easy wins. I don't think there are any that you would say are guaranteed wins here for Nebraska, but a couple of games that they should win, they'll be favored in. I realize they lost to Troy last year, but I think this season they will be good enough to beat a team like Northern Illinois, a team like South Alabama. I haven't done a lot of research on Northern Illinois, so I don't know how good they're going to be. So that's one we might have to come back to. But assuming they don't bring everyone back and are absolutely loaded, I think Nebraska wins that game at home. Then you have Colorado. Yes, it's a road game. Nebraska, though, I think will be favored. I think they'll be favored against Illinois. Then you got that big game against Ohio State. Northwestern is at home. I think they'll be favored there. Minnesota is going to be a tricky game. That one's on the road. That's not a gimme. So maybe look at that one as one of the tougher games for Nebraska. Indiana's at home, should be a favorite in that game. Purdue is on the road. That could be another challenge. Wisconsin's going to be good, but again, they get them at home. Maryland is on the road. Could be a tough one. And then Iowa is at home. So they get most of their bigger games at home. You have Ohio State at home. You have Wisconsin at home. And you have Iowa at home. Very, very favorable schedule. And with this schedule, you look for a projected record. I think it's between 7 and 10 wins. I was close to putting 11 on the top part because I think 11 wins is possible, but I want to hold off on my expectations because it's very tough to go out and play consistently at the top of your game every week. So even if they do upset Ohio State, so let's say they win that game, it's going to be tough to play at that level every week. And there are enough teams on this schedule that could trip them up. Like I said, Minnesota and Purdue on the road, even Maryland on the road. Those are going to be challenges. Even Illinois, they're going to be better this year, and perhaps they could be looking ahead to Ohio State. So I think 10-2 is about the best case scenario. I wouldn't write it off. I wouldn't say there's no way they go 11-1 because I think that's possible. But we're looking at the most likely scenarios, the projected records for what is most likely going to take place. And I think 10-2 is the safe best case scenario for Nebraska. But I don't see them dropping below 7-5. I think this is definitely a bowl team. I mean, it's hard really to find 5 losses. Ohio State maybe, Minnesota, Purdue, Maryland on the road, Wisconsin or Iowa. So yeah, I guess they could lose 5 games, but I think it's more likely 8 or 9 or 10 wins for this team. And again, that's just the regular season. We're just looking at those 12 games. Of course, we all know what Scott Frost did in his second season at UCF, so maybe I'm off here. Maybe they're able to run the table, go undefeated, go to the Big Ten championship game. It's possible. I wouldn't say that there's no way, but because of some question marks on defense, I'm a little hesitant to put them at that level, to put them in the playoff conversation. I think they're in the top 15 type team conversation. Again, possibly a 10-win team, but not quite ready to put them in a playoff conversation. We'll see what they do this year, though, and see how Scott Frost can continue to build this program. Thank you for watching this video. If you're a Big Ten football fan, please subscribe to the channel. Leave us your thoughts down in the comments below. And for the latest in Big Ten football, keep it right here.